Welcome to the International Two Sides Short Film Festival, Director Q&As. We have Evan Macbeth as our guest, and we will talk about his short film, I Declare a Thumb War. And first, I'd like to introduce him to you. Evan Macbeth is a Scottish artist based in Rotterdam, working with filmmaking and photography. His practice explores the unreality of power and propaganda. Evan Macbeth has exhibited screened works in CCA Glasgow, I Film Institute Amsterdam, EMAF Osnabrück, RSA Edinburgh, Hayton Art Center Taipei. Evan, why do you make films? Would you tell us about your motivations for making films?
Well, I came to filmmaking from photography, and that's what I was studying when I made my first film. And in a kind of very simplistic way, I was making photographs and I wanted to see them move. And still the films I make, they stay very much like moving photographs. I've never actually moved the camera. The camera always stays static. And the subject matter of the first three films I've made so far has been propaganda. And I'm very interested in propaganda because I think it's one of the ways the world is most shaped. And I think it's kind of one of the many crises of our time, the way that people in power lie with propaganda and they maintain control with propaganda.
How do the circumstances and facilities, such as collaborations and funding for filmmaking, affect you in your country? Both in Scotland and you also work in Rotterdam?
The Netherlands.
Netherlands?
Yeah. Well, I've never actually made a film with proper film funding. I'm only working with research and arts funding. So it's very low budget stuff. And so the crew for the Thumb War film was just me, the production designer, and the cinematographer actually on set. And I even shot the two scenes some months apart because I applied for funding after doing the first, the scene that's in the middle, and then I did an extra, waited some months, and then I did the gymnasium therapy scene. So it's all done in a slightly unprofessional way, but it's been quite nice working in this way because I'm still like learning because I haven't studied filmmaking, and I'm coming at it from a quite different perspective. Like I don't shoot coverage, I only go with these set planned images and we make them, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I think sometimes I'm shocked at like how many people work on someone's short film. Like there'll be like 30 people and I'm like, this film was like 5 people, I guess. Apart from the actors, of course, which makes it a bit more.
So what are your plans for the future? Do you want to continue the same way as you make your films?
Well, I'm trying to, each film I get just a tiny bit more ambitious with. So I'm making a short film right now, I'm editing it. I guess it's my first proper narrative work. It's 10 minutes long. And it's for like 4 different Dutch art organizations. And it's a sort of similar style, but I'm also using voiceover. And it's a kind of strange documentary fiction hybrid in which someone, you don't know who it is, describes the experience of going to prison in a case of mistaken identity. And you never know who he is or when it is or what country he's in. So it becomes this kind of Kafkaesque like look at power and state power.
So I'm going to continue with the film. My first question is, there is a photo as the starting point of your film, and a particular photo of a boy and a soldier thumb wrestling. And there are several versions of that photo. We can easily find them when we Google. And what's your focus that you build on this criticism on? It's a powerful image.
Yeah, I mean, I guess around 5 years ago, I found a photo on the official Flickr page of the United States military of a soldier playing a sort of friendly thumb war with a boy in Iraq. And it really struck me as a very powerful image because it looked so friendly and innocent, but of course it's actually masking some of the most extreme forces of violence and evil in the world today. And then I found there's other pictures of different soldiers in different countries, mostly like Iraq and Afghanistan, also playing thumb war with soldiers. And there's ones on the Defense Department's official website. There's one on different Wikipedia pages, and they're sort of scattered around the internet. So I considered it a kind of significant sort of motif about, I guess I interpreted it as like how the US empire likes to sort of present its role in the world. And so as a starting point, I started off by basically just reenacting it. And so that's the middle scene that you see in the film. But then after I did that, it felt like a very one-dimensional kind of artwork, and it didn't feel like it was saying anything. So then I added the extra scene of it being a sort of trauma of a veteran in a therapy session. And I did that so as to sort of satirize the Hollywood war film and the kind of tropes of the Hollywood war film, because I thought that I'm trying to make a sort of parallel between military propaganda and entertainment, because after like 9/11, there's been over 1,000 films made in collaboration with Hollywood and the CIA. And these are, I guess, these are of course pro-war films, but I guess I'm trying to ask questions about how far this system goes and like to what extent do these sort of wars of empire that have gone on, how much are they connected to the entertainment business and Hollywood and cinema. And the style of the film, I do it in this sort of strange alternate reality. So it's no longer like an American soldier, because I think it's a bit easy to just criticize the United States. I built the costume, it's mixture between different countries. Because I wanted to also, because the UK is like obviously the biggest supporter of this and much of Europe. So I'm kind of trying to blend these forces together and yeah, I guess just ask questions about how they get to operate with like impunity, because I think it's really wrong what's going on. And yeah, I'm from the UK, so the UK is, I'd say, probably the biggest supporter of the United States. So I'm trying to, question that.
Your film has a very simple but very powerful narrative style, as you just mentioned. Sounds of the wind we hear, and waves also. They're also particularly interesting in the sound band of the film. Would you like to talk about audiovisual strategies you employed in this film and how you decided them?
I guess one interesting thing is I made the film without recording any sound on set. So there was no sound person on set. So it was just image. And then the sound was done entirely in post, which is a very like old-fashioned way of making a film. And I did this partly for practicality reasons, because I find that a lot of the times the sound that you get on set is you spend so much time trying to remove, passing cars or a plane, and it's often just so bad that I just decided to do it all after the fact. And then, I mean, the So the sound, yeah, the sound is like, it starts off with a kind of cold sound of a sort of, so they're in this sort of strange cold room, and then it moves into the wind and the drone sound over the top. I was thinking a little bit about this film called Come and See, which is famous Russian war film. I can't remember who directed it, but it has a very interesting use of sound. And with the visual style, yeah, the camera remains static, and then we have this zoom shot, and it's kind of what you'd call an extreme zoom. We used, I think it was the biggest zoom lens we could find in the Netherlands. And I did this because it's kind of about how media frame events. And with the zoom, you see a shifting in framing. So you change throughout your kind of visual perception of how you experience it. And I think that, yeah, I wanted the film to feel endless because, I mean, it's in a way, it's been shown most in an exhibition. And in the exhibition, there's no credits and there's no titles. So the soldier, he puts his hand up and then he keeps having the same fantasy. So it's like this absurdist loop. So it adds to the absurdity when it feels like it's never ending, and it's, yeah, I mean, the style of the film is, I want people to have conflicting emotions, because what you're actually seeing is just actors in a fake environment wearing fake costumes having a thumb war, but the subtext is so extreme that I think it gives a powerful emotional impact.
So it's been exhibited mostly in loop.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's also shown, I showed it once. There's another film I made that's called Divided Together, and it's just a one-shot film. It's of a politician, and he starts by sort of having this awkward conversation with a makeup artist, and then he seamlessly makes a speech to an unnamed invaded country. And I based that on a speech that Tony Blair and George Bush gave when they sort of invaded Iraq. And then, but again, I rewrote it, and you never see who he's making a speech to. But when you play them together, over the sound of the wind, you have this speech being made, in which he says, again, it's like the subtext is I guess it's quite obvious, but when you see them together, it's quite a powerful contrast, because you just know that beneath these, like, the lies and the propaganda, like, the most terrible things are happening.
So what kind of comments do you get on the film? And we also would like to hear about the screening and festival journey of this film.
Well, the film was originally meant to be shown premiere in the European Media Art Festival, but then there was the pandemic, and then that got cancelled. And so other than that, I've never actually shown it in a cinema. I've never seen it myself in a cinema. I've only shown it in exhibitions. And the comments people have made, a lot of people like the colors in the film. One technique I apply is I removed all the blue and the green, so you're left with a very sort of minimal color palette. And then, yeah, a lot of people like the cinematography, of course. And yeah, people, yeah, they want to know more about it. I guess a lot of people just understand it. It's quite a simplistic artwork. Although there's a lot of sort of theoretical framework to it, ultimately it's just a simple metaphor. And I think some people quite like that it's quite simple.
And can they relate with the photograph immediately? Because a lot of people must have seen it in some way.
No one's really seen the photo, because the photo is actually, I've never shown the photo, and the photo is just a really minor thing. Like I found it, but no one's really spoken about it online. It's just my own sort of strange detective work. This was a really long time ago as well. It's like in 2016 or something. But it just I spent ages on it, like film, some years. So I guess it's one of these works. It kind of goes in and out of relevance, because one of the reasons I made it is I wanted to talk about the fact that the UK had, for example, been at war in Afghanistan for like 19 years, and you never, in the media, no one was speaking about it at all. It was completely just a subject that was considered irrelevant. And in fact, a lot of people didn't even know that there was still a war going on. But then now, because of everything that's happened in the last month, suddenly people are talking about it as if it's this new thing again. So the film kind of, it goes in and out of relevance in a way, you know, at least to how people perceive it.
So thank you very much, Ivan, for answering all of our questions on your film and on filmmaking, on how you make films.
Yeah, thanks for speaking to me. I hope you like it, and hope the festival is really good.
Thank you very much.